Sound of Freedom just has such a, I mean, you've talked about this, the use of light is such an integral part. And I say that because it's just one component of how you balance beauty with tragedy and make a film that's cinematically and aesthetically pleasing while also detailing like very tough subject matter. It's a tightrope walk, and I think you did it very well. So congrats.
Wow, man, that's such a fresh of glass of water to hear you speak like that. You know, for the first time I'm in an interview that we get to talk about the film.
Oh,
and,
really?
Yeah. So, but you put it in the most perfect words. So thank you.
Thank you.
It's exactly, you know, had to add beauty to this tragedy so people can digest the content that took us 2 years to put on paper.
Yeah, exactly. So I heard something you said. You were actually writing something fictional about child trafficking, and then you got together with Tim Ballard, you made this film. And of course, you're no stranger to distribution battles. That's happened, I think, with Bell. You've experienced that. So all that to say, could you discuss the film's journey? Did you reach out to Tim? Did he reach out to you? Was that just fate or God's will?
Yeah, so all it started, this film was definitely a calling. Like, it's not the movie I wake up one day and say, I want to make a movie about child trafficking. Definitely not. I came home, this is one part that it's been the missing link in the media. So I came home around 11 at night one night, and it was when BTR was still in place. And I used to record my shows, and I was recorded 20, 60 Minutes or Dayline NBC. It was one of those 3 shows, and I used to watch them all and fall asleep. And one of those pieces was about the production on the sexual exploitation content, and also on child trafficking. And I remember I couldn't sleep that night. I woke up the next day and I talked to my wife and I said, I'm gonna make a movie about this. And you know, I have 3 kids, so she was like, are you sure you want to go into this? I said, yeah, but I'm not gonna go deep. I'm only gonna stay, this is the tip of the iceberg, I believe. So I'm just gonna stay there and I'm gonna try to tell the story this way. So I went and started writing for around 2 months. I had the whole film planned out from beginning to end. I registered at the WGA. We were ready to go. I went, I pitched it to my representation, to my agents, and I was like, this is it. And then I got a call from the producer. Then I needed funds, so I met with the producer of the film, and I said, hey, can you help me raise the funds for this? And he right away saw it was an important film, and it was completely fiction. It was called The Mogul. And it was a similar story in the realms of Schindler's List, somebody that was using his means to rescue people, in this case children, but it was all fictional. And one day I get a call from the same producer and says, hey, do you know who Tim Ballard is? I say, no, I did a little research. At that time, Tim Ballard is not the controversy that has become today. It was only 3 or 4 little things that I could find of him. One was a CBS little YouTube video about one of the rescues he did in Colombia, which is in the film. And then another ones were a couple of interviews, but it was just very simple. And I was like, I would love to meet with him because he was a former agent, just to kind of gather more information, more intel. But I wasn't meeting him to see if I was going to do his movie. So when I met him and I had all these questions, I realized that his life story was surpassing my fictional story. So the conversation shifted to like, are your life rights available? And yeah, one thing led to another one, and we ended up partnering, and I ended up starting writing his life story, which he was obviously, and I say this in advance, like any biopic, I have to take creative licenses. Every biopic in the world has to take creative licenses in order to put 30 years into, or 10 years into an hour and a half, and also to make it more cinematic. The minute you make something cinematic, the lighting, that lighting barely exists in the real world, right? You know, you don't get perfect light on the side. So you dramatize everything and make it, you make a show, a spectacle of stories. Schindler's List is my favorite film of all times But if you see that, it's very film noir, and then has all this handheld. It's just a beautiful. Then you see a little red dress, a little girl in red, and and obviously you don't watch the movie and start questioning the Schindler this. You focus on also the horrors of the Holocaust, and this is what I want to try to do. Is I don't want people to focus on the details. I want people to focus on the big theme: is child trafficking happening? Is this something we should create a dialogue as a society through the art of cinema? So that was the motive, and that's how everything began, and that's how we end up here.
Interesting. Yeah, I agree. I think the fictionalized elements of anything are there to create access to the truth.
Exactly.
So then you work on it. I'm not sure if it's completely completed when Disney took over Fox. Do you know why they shelved it?
Well, I think what happened was the following. When Disney bought Fox, imagine all the content that there is. So it's like to go through everything. I think we got lost in translation because we were a little movie. Also, we were with Fox International, which is even a step farther from Fox domestic. So I just think that when the merge happened, our film got lost. I don't think it was intentional to be like, oh, we don't want to distribute. I just think it was just the nature of when a company gets bought. And then COVID hit in, and it was a film. Everybody thought that after COVID, people wanted to see movies that are very happy and not heavy. So our film started to kind of even get more on the shelf because people wasn't even taking the minute they heard about what the film was about. I don't even think they were considering it because of the heaviness. So I want to believe there was not a bad intent. I just think that the circumstances didn't help our film. But looking back into retrospective, I think it was also right now people are more familiar with the theme. That if we would have come out early on the day in the year, I don't know if you would have the box office success that we have had. So I think the timing just happened to come together perfectly, and this is when the universe aligns to kind of launch this kind of film.
And so now it's released, and it's honestly one of the most interesting stories culturally this year or recently, because it blows up. It's huge, but it's also, it becomes this sort of totem that different political perspectives either use to support their cause or to attack something. And honestly, watching the film, I don't think it's political at all. I don't see any sort of political motive or interest. I feel like everyone wants to protect children, right? That's not a political thing.
Yeah.
So
one thing that this is a very good film to kind of study our society. Now that I'm listening to you, and I never thought of it like that. I'm actually thinking like that for the first time. This proves the inclination and desire that we have as a society to want to label everything, even if we label it wrong. Is that this is a good example of where we are, how we have been trained to continue to label things, and it don't matter if we're right or wrong. So, like, just a couple of days ago, somebody sent me an article, a review on the film, and the guy said, "This is just like a CSI episode, one of the many episodes." And I was like, "Wow, what? Now you want to label it as a episodic film?" Well, try to make a movie about the most difficult theme that people leave the theater and recommend it, and then makes $200 million. Really, it's just the need to label it. So why don't you just say, I didn't like the movie, but why the need to associate it and actually name a show? Say, CSI. Why? Why the need to say this is a faith-based film? In which way is a faith-based film? In which way? Like, I've seen movies where the characters are dressed fully as priests, like Silence, and many films. They're not called faith-based films. you know, $1 million baby, you have the character going to the priest and talking, what do I do? And they talk about God for like, you know, money is a whole scene. That's not the label say, because I do feel at that time we were not in the time of today. Now it's like, we need to label everything. And that labeling is very dangerous. And I do feel like this film has been a victim of the wrong labeling. Now, right labeling is really hard. You have to do a lot of research to correctly label something. It's more if you're going to label a person. You have to get to know that person deeply before you can even put any label. And people are not taking the time. They just look at the outside, like the cliche, do not judge a book by its cover. That's what we're doing. It's like, dude, read the book before you judge it. Don't just look at the covers. I'm not going to like the book because I don't like the covers. Like, well, read the book. Same thing, get to know the person. Don't judge the person because he's vocal about any particular subject matter. And I do feel the film had that was a victim of that, of the social labeling. But it's almost like it's almost like an inclination. There's a weird hunger to do that, and that's dangerous. I advise people not to continue to do that because that only creates, you know, it's more when it's wrong. Now, if people have the knowledge, the academic knowledge, to have the guts and the rights because they know the right to label something, so be it. But I doubt that most of the people have that preparation and that scholar study and data in order to be able to label a product, a film, or even worse, a person or a group of people.
Yes, I very much agree. I think it is an ideological Rorschach test at the moment, and it's been fascinating to see. How have you felt? Have you felt conflicted at all, sort of being the filmmaker behind it, watching it succeed so much, but then watching this sort of political discourse? And honestly, I mean, as much as I respect and love Jim Caviezel and what Tim Ballard has done, they've certainly contributed to the politicization of the film. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, that's a very complicated question because I think what happened is they were eager to talk about the film, and I feel in the beginning they were invited to speak in certain venues that automatically, by its nature, like you mentioned, politicized the film. I know Tim Ballard, all he cares is about creating awareness and passing legislation and helping people to understand the problem so they can get funded to, you know, to get for the U.S. government and the world, other governments to kind of, you know, create any kind of support for this. But yes, I wish I wish, you know, this division, political division, wasn't happening on the world, but especially on the film. And my first instinct when I started seeing the labels and the attacks on the film was to distance myself, and I did that. And I went to hide, and I was like, oh, you know what? I'm not gonna go to any screenings. I'm not gonna go do interviews. I'm just gonna. And it's heartbreaking that I also, you know, I'm the author, and I should. That was my conflicting things. Maybe I should come out and clarify what the motive, because it doesn't matter. At the end, I wrote the script and I directed the movie, so I'm the authorship. So people should know what was the motive behind all of it, and then they're gonna figure out. And I think it was labeled as a result of the personal beliefs of some people that work on the film, but that has nothing to do with the film. You know, I give this example all the time. It's I call it the hamburger example, and it's like if the guy who made the meat belongs to a certain faith. Let's say he's Muslim, and the guy who does the bread, it's Orthodox Jews, and then the guy who serves the food is Catholic. And when you get the burger and you bite it, you're like, what a great religious burger. You don't say that. So it don't matter the personal beliefs of the people that work on the project. Judge the project for what it is. And I do think in here, that is what happened is, the personal beliefs of some of the talent in the film kind of got, in a way, influenced the way the film was positioned. But I can't control that. I cannot, just like I don't want, I think we live in America. People should be free to express and be as vocal as they want, or as quiet as they want, within their way of life. It's like, I'm never going to tell somebody, oh, you were being too loud, maybe you shouldn't talk. No, if you want to go and take your clothes off and dance on the streets, be it. I'm not going to tell you not to do it, but I don't want, if that person, if I work with anybody that is doing any particular thing on their personal life, for that to be part of they want to label my work. And and it's not the first time that happens to me. I'm used to every movie I've done, right away, label, boom. It's like, so I'm like, this one, I thought, I was like, I wonder how they're going to label this. They cannot label it faith-based. And I was to my surprise, boom. I was like, okay. Never say you can't do something. They'll label you incorrectly if they need to.
Yeah, it's a different time. I mean, people didn't watch, I know you love Tarkovsky, people didn't watch Solaris or Ivan's Childhood and think, oh, the USSR is tangentially related. This film is terrible. No,
Exactly.
Yeah, I just have.
Well, you got to see my new movie, because you're gonna see Tarkovsky all over.
Oh,
my
yeah,
new movie
yeah.
is literally I became a Tarkovsky student, and I literally choreograph everything. If you love Tarkovsky, when you see my new movie, you're gonna see so much. I pay tributes. There was times that I was like, I want to pay a tribute to Tarkovsky, and you're gonna see shots that is like a pure tribute to him. The choreography, everything. It's I did not coverage. It's all shot in very continuous shots with like very operatic positioning on the camera, and the choreography and everything, and then purposefully I did not cover it. So it's only one way to edit the film. And I'm just very excited for you to appreciate those things. You're going to love Cabrini.
I can't wait. Hopefully we can discuss that when it comes out.
Yeah, for sure.